Welcome to the Devon Effect. Real talk, good vibes, and no BS. Just me, you, and whatever's on my mind. Let's get into it. I still remember the first time I completely bombed a class presentation in middle school. It was straight up embarrassing. My hands were shaking, my voice cracked like I was going through puberty again, and I completely forgot half of what I was supposed to say. I wanted to melt into the floor right then and there. And to make things worse, I was already socially awkward enough that I once refused to order my own meal at a restaurant because talking to the cashier was too scary. But when I got to college, everything flipped. I went from a nervous wreck to someone who could give a full 15-minute speech without breaking a sweat. And guess what? It only happened because I finally realized that most of the things I used to stress over didn't actually matter. So if you want to know how I went from an anxious mess to thriving in school, sit back, relax, and welcome to the Yap. The reality of school. Every first time is a train wreck. School is chaotic. Every new level comes with new rules, new people, and new things to worry about. My first week of high school, a complete disaster. I got lost in the hallways 3 times in a single day. At one point, I accidentally walked into the janitor's closet and panicked so hard I just stood there until the coast was clear. Then came college. You'd think I'd have figured it out by then, but nope. I showed up to my first 8 a.m. class in the wrong building. Sat there for 20 minutes before realizing I was listening to an advanced chemistry lecture instead of intro to psychology. But no matter how many times I fumbled through a new school, the biggest thing I feared? Failure. Failure happens, and it's not that deep. Everyone fails, but school is usually where we experience it in a way that feels personal. For me, it was my first high school history test. The teacher, let's call him Mr. Thompson, was known for making the hardest exams in the entire school. People whispered about his tests like they were horror stories. I studied. I swear I did. But when I opened that test, my brain immediately logged out. It was like trying to read another language. I scribbled down answers, hoping for the best. A few days later, I got my grade back. A whopping 42%. I stared at that paper like it was my death certificate. Mr. Thompson was disappointed. My parents were disappointed. And worst of all, I was disappointed. Back then, it felt like my entire future was doomed. Looking at it now, that test was barely a blip in my life. Why failing doesn't matter in the long run. When you're in school, a bad grade feels like the end of the world, but fast forward a few years, you realize it really doesn't matter. Nobody is going to ask you about that C- in 10th grade chemistry when you're applying for a job. Your college won't care if you struggled in algebra freshman year. The only thing that actually matters is that you kept trying. Failed a quiz? Study harder for the next one. Bombed an exam? Annoying, but you can recover. The only way you truly fail is if you give up. How I bounced back. After that 42% disaster, I knew I had to change my approach. High school wasn't middle school. I couldn't just wing it. So I actually studied for the next test. No more last-minute cramming, no more hoping I could BS my way through. And you know what? I pulled off a solid 78%. Was it perfect? No. But it was miles better than a 42%. And that's the point. It wasn't about being perfect. It was about progress. College is not as hard as they say. Teachers love scaring students with horror stories about college. College professors won't tolerate late work. If you don't shape up now, you'll never survive in college. College is 10 times harder than high school. Yeah, no. When I got to college, I realized professors were way more chill than my high school teachers. Students were out here asking, "Professor, can I get an extension? Are you posting the slides online? Is there extra credit?" And most of the time, the answer was yes. Also, that whole no laptops in class thing? Lies. I typed my notes in almost every class and nobody cared. Bottom line, every school level feels hard at first, but you will adapt. You just have to put in the effort and stop psyching yourself out. Social anxiety is all in your head. Academics aren't the only thing that stresses people out. Social life is another monster. I used to be so socially anxious that I once faked being sick just to avoid giving a class presentation. Spoiler alert, my mom found out and it did not end well for me. I was convinced everyone was judging me, that people thought I was weird, that every little awkward moment was a big deal. But the truth, nobody cares that much. Think about it. When's the last time you obsessed over how your classmate Josh pronounced a word weirdly, or how Sarah accidentally tripped in the hallway? Exactly. Most people are too busy worrying about themselves to judge you. The only opinions that matter are from your real friends. Everyone else, just background characters. Final thoughts. Nothing is as big of a deal as you think. School feels overwhelming. Change is scary. But most of the things that stress you out now, they won't even matter in a few years. Fail a test? You can bounce back. Struggle socially? The right people will find you. Feel overwhelmed? Take it step by step. At the end of the day, just do your best. Keep moving forward. And trust me, you'll be fine.